Welcome to WDW Escape, brought to you by WDW Magazine. Today we return to our archives for another magical moment, Going Places on Disney Sklyliner by Rain Blanken, which first appeared in issue 78, March 2020. There I was, up bright and early at Disney's Hollywood Studios to try out the latest ride. But instead of strapping on my magic band and preparing for bag check, I cut a right, away from the entrance. I picked up speed and anticipation as Stitch waved at me from the sky, luring me to the hub of silently swooping gondolas. I never had the chance to ride the Skyway at Magic Kingdom between Fantasyland and Tomorrowland before it was removed in 1999. But I hail from the Midwest, where homegrown amusement parks like Cedar Point and Kings Island spent much of the 1980s making ambitious and often less inspired copies of Walt Disney's every endeavor. In Ohio, gondola bucket systems weren't just transportation, they were bona fide rides. So when Disney Sklyliner was announced, I was already betting on it becoming one of my favorite rides of all time. Last summer, everyone I knew was counting down until the opening of Galaxy's Edge in the fall. Well, I had my eyes on the sky, scouting out ghost-like gondolas concealed in white wraps during the testing phase. Now, shuffling through the short boarding line, I wondered which gondola I would get. Each one is wrapped in a different set of characters, so I made an effort to count the groups of people waiting in front of me and then try to puzzle out which upcoming gondola would be my ride. Monsters Incorporated, Peter Pan, Coco? But I've never been fast at math, and I was suddenly facing a cast member who ushered me unceremoniously onto my first Skyliner ride. He gestured for me to step up to the open doors of a gleaming gondola that bore a Madame Leota conducting a lively séance across the back. Room for one more? Get out your doom buggy feet. You'll need to be a bit spry to catch one of these ever-moving gondolas. I apprehensively hopped in, like a 5-year-old negotiating with an escalator. I had the gondola all to myself, but I would learn on later trips gondolas will be filled with new friends during busier times. The bench seats inside were made of wood slats stained a warm color that made the inside of the gondola much more cozy and luxurious than plastic seats could have managed. This upscale touch already made the Skyliner experience a far cry from a bus ride. After my gondola found some unexpected pep and rocketed into the sky, I was floating. It was just me and the breeze rushing through generous vents above my head. This ride didn't have the weighty feeling of a boat sluggishly droning through It's a Small World, or even the terse tug of a Star Tours capsule. I felt lighter than air, which was liberating, and a bit alarming, as I realized I was bobbing over asphalt. The first entertainment the Skyliner provided was a little game I like to call There's My Car, but I didn't have to play for long, as a sudden chime overhead announced the arrival of my traveling companion. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard the Disney Sklyliner, chirped the female recording. I couldn't help but immediately think of Stacy from the infamous Must-Do Disney series that runs 24 hours in every resort room on property. She was a bit more reserved and lyrical here, but I call her Stacy now nonetheless, because she's got the Skyliner must-dos on tap. Stacy has a sense of humor, and soon she directed me to wave goodbye to my adoring fans below. We, Stacy and I of course, edged out of the Hollywood Studios parking lot and drifted over the trees. As I peered down for a glimpse of Bambi or maybe some talking squirrels, Stacy popped in to tell me one of my favorite fun facts about Walt Disney World. I won't spoil it. And that the Caribbean Beach Resort station was ahead. Indeed, I was quickly approaching what would be my first thrill. You know on Splash Mountain where they have those little fake-out hills? The ones that have all the setup of a big drop but end up at just a slight dip? Yeah, the Skyliner is full of those. Every time my gondola swooped into a station, I chanted, "No whammies, no whammies, no whammies," and crossed my fingers because these guys are coming in hot. These gondolas will dash right in, and mine lunged deceivingly close to the one in front of it. But with more than 300 gondolas coming in for a safe landing all over the line every single day, there is very little chance of a fender bender. But hey, I like a little thrill with my flight. I disembarked at the Caribbean Beach Resort station to switch to another line. This T-shaped station is the main hub with a bathroom stop and connections to all 3 gondola lines. I came directly from Disney's Hollywood Studios, and now I had a choice. Turn right and head on to Disney's Pop Century and Art of Animation resorts, or turn left and head to Epcot with a stop at Disney's Riviera Resort along the way. But one possibility was to stay a while. The waterfront Caribbean Beach Resort Station opens up to a resort I've only visited once. Now as the hub for the Skyliner, this well-themed destination is way more accessible to all guests. With Sebastian's Bistro table service restaurant and a few quick service options, it's not a bad spot to grab a bite. And with fishing, bike rentals, and a playground, this could be the perfect stop to give the whole family a midday break from the parks. Check out our July 2019 issue for a full tour. But this was a solo trip, and I was eager to peek at the new Riviera Resort from the sky. Switching lines was easy. I followed the signs and queued up, and this time scored an unwrapped gondola. I love the character design wraps on most gondolas, but you can't see the characters on your gondola from inside, and while you can see through the wrap, it tends to blur the view. Through unwrapped windows, this leg of the trip offered a stunning view of everything Disney's Caribbean Beach Resort had to offer, including the brilliant blue of the Fuentes del Moro feature pool. Ciao, bonjour, and bienvenue. Stacy was here for an update, but I was already peeping the Riviera Resort Tower as she told me all about the romantic vistas up ahead. The Riviera Station is one you don't actually have to experience. For non-stop service to Epcot, just don't get out. Should I have disembarked at the Riviera, I'd have been met with stunning, tangled in Peter Pan mosaics at the station. On a leisurely day, I highly suggest stopping to check these out, and maybe even grab a latte at the Le Petit Café inside the Riviera. My gondola crept through the station, the doors opened, and a cast member asked if I was getting out. I stayed put, and pretended it didn't take a full 10 seconds to make it past the cast member before my door shut. That's a lot of awkward eye contact between two people. Eventually, the doors closed, and I experienced yet another rapid launch into the sky on my way to Epcot. Soon, my gondola zipped above the same roads I drove on over the summer, then pointing excitedly up to the test gondolas on the line where I now floated. A few bells announced Stacy's presence. Ladies and gentlemen, in just a few moments you'll be taking a scenic spin around the Skyliner turn station. Remain seated. A scenic spin, you say? I buckled my imaginary seatbelt and braced myself for some teacup-style twirling. The Skyliner buckets ahead of me dipped into a looming structure. I hadn't heard anything about this. Should I not have eaten those nachos for lunch? The scenic spin is more like a meandering 90-degree turn. I wasn't disappointed, as I'm not much for teacups or magic carpets. The scenery is cool too, with a nice view of the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror and the Walt Disney World Swan and Dolphin hotels. But the real view was after the turn. Well, I told no one, maybe Stacy was listening, about how close we were to the Tower of Terror. Spaceship Earth suddenly gleamed in the distance. The Skyliner revealed how close together the resorts and parks really are, yet boasted the immensity of Walt Disney World at the same time. After just a few minutes, my gondola glided gently past the bustling construction site that would soon bolster the offerings of Epcot's France Pavilion. Gondolas arriving at Epcot come into the International Gateway Station at the back of the park, unlike the Hollywood Studios station in the front parking lot. Over the summer, I had peered at every stage of the station construction, including the final Art Nouveau mural, on my way to the Beaches and Cream soda shop at Disney's Beach Club Resort, and riding Surrey bikes at the boardwalk. Stacy piped. We are now arriving at Epcot. To all who come to this place of joy, hope, and friendship, welcome. Between each station, I spent a total of 10 airborne minutes with Stacy, but I already felt like she was my trusty guide to the skies. The only way she could have done a better job is if she transformed into Patrick Warburton as he reprised his Soren pre-show role. Or dare I hope, Kronk. In fact, it would be really cool if we could get some guest hosts to pop in and surprise riders as the Skyliner sails on through the years. My gondola clipped into the International Gateway Station, no whammies, and I made a prompt exit. Here I emerged into what used to be the rather sleepy back entrance to Epcot, now transformed into a hub of activity as Skyliner guests came and went, exploring both the park and resorts nearby. My first Skyliner trip was complete, but I had yet to ride the Pop Century and Art of Animation line, so I queued up to return to the Caribbean Beach Resort Station. They wouldn't let me stay on. You have to exit at Epcot and then get right back in line. And that's what I liked best about my first Skyliner ride. Sure, the view was amazing and I've fallen victim to Stacy's charms, but the best part was the connections. It opened up parts of Walt Disney World that otherwise went unexplored. I usually wouldn't go out of my way to visit Pop Century or Art of Animation, but now with the Skyliner, I am more likely to stop by for a tie-dye cheesecake. And a Hollywood Studios day typically wouldn't also be an Epcot day, but now I'm more likely to park hop and be there in a matter of minutes. Even the back of Epcot will see more of me now that it's a few chimes away instead of a laborious hike across World Showcase. I can park at Hollywood Studios, enjoy the citizens of Hollywood, then ride the Skyliner to a reservation at Chef de France. As I boarded a Snow White gondola and prepared for Stacy's reverse trip variations on her pre-recorded spiel, I counted myself lucky. I didn't need a fast pass or even a park ticket for my new favorite ride at Walt Disney World. This has been WDW Escape, brought to you by WDW Magazine. If you enjoy these programs, please consider leaving a rating or review wherever you get your podcasts. If you enjoyed this, you're sure to love the all-new content at WDW Magazine, available in print or digital editions. Visit wdw-magazine.com and escape with us today.